Alcatraz Island sits cold and silent in San Francisco Bay. For many years, it was America's most feared prison, known as the Rock. The strong currents and freezing temperatures made escape nearly impossible. The prison was built to be unbreakable, designed to hold bodies and break spirits. From the shore, it looks like a dark, lonely shape, often wrapped in fog. For San Francisco, Alcatraz was a reminder of the consequences of serious crime. The lights of the city, visible but unreachable, were a cruel taunt to inmates. Stories about Alcatraz have fascinated people for decades, with books and movies depicting its dark cells and daring escape attempts. The mystery of potential escapes keeps the legend alive. Even today, Alcatraz holds a powerful grip on our minds, symbolizing ultimate punishment and the human desire for freedom. The island is now a popular tourist attraction, where visitors walk its empty cell blocks. They try to imagine life for the men locked away there. The silence of the cells and the clang of a closing door contribute to the enduring and chilling atmosphere. Before Alcatraz became a dreaded prison, it served a different purpose. In the 1850s, the U.S. military recognized its strategic importance for defending San Francisco Bay. Gold had been discovered in California, and San Francisco was growing rapidly. The Army built a fort on Alcatraz Island, designed to be strong and imposing. Workers brought materials by boat, building thick stone walls and installing powerful cannons. Alcatraz also became home to the first operational lighthouse on the West Coast. Soldiers stationed on the island kept watch over the bay, symbolizing military strength. By the late 1850s, the military started using Alcatraz to hold military prisoners. The island's isolation made it an ideal place for a secure stockade. During the Civil War, Alcatraz imprisoned Confederate sympathizers and prisoners of war. The fort's defenses were strengthened, ensuring San Francisco's security. After the war, Alcatraz continued as a military prison, holding soldiers convicted of serious crimes. The Army also imprisoned Native Americans, particularly Hopi men resisting government policies. Its function as a place of confinement was becoming more established. The island was transitioning from a defensive outpost to a place of incarceration. This early use as a military prison foreshadowed its later, more infamous role. Alcatraz's remote nature proved useful for keeping people contained. The stage was set for its ultimate transformation into a federal penitentiary. By the early 20th century, the old military fort on Alcatraz was outdated. Its reputation as a secure place for holding prisoners was well established. The Department of Justice needed a super prison for the most dangerous criminals. Alcatraz, with its natural barriers, seemed perfect. The decision to convert Alcatraz came during a time of rising crime in America. The Prohibition era and the Great Depression saw the rise of organized crime. Figures like Al Capone became household names, and the public demanded tougher action. Existing federal prisons struggled, and high-profile criminals managed to escape. The government needed a symbol to show that the system could not be beaten. In 1933, the U.S. Army transferred Alcatraz to the Bureau of Prisons. A massive renovation project began, modernizing and securing the old cell blocks. New steel bars, tool-proof windows, and advanced locking systems were installed. Guard towers provided complete surveillance. The aim was to create an escape-proof prison. Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary officially opened on August 11, 1934. It was designed for punishment and containment, not rehabilitation. The rules were strict, and privileges had to be earned. Inmates were sent to Alcatraz because they were too difficult or dangerous for other prisons. The message was clear. If you ended up on the Rock, you had reached the end of the line. There was little hope of early release or escape. Its opening heralded a new, harsher era in American penology. Alcatraz became a symbol of ultimate punishment. The island's isolation was its greatest asset for this new purpose. Life inside Alcatraz was harsh and monotonous for prisoners. Their days were strictly regimented, beginning with an early morning wake-up call. Meals were eaten in a large dining hall under the watchful eyes of armed guards. The food was reportedly better than in many other prisons to prevent riots. After breakfast, most inmates worked in prison industries like the laundry and workshop. Cells were small, about 5 feet by 9 feet, with a cot, toilet, and small sink. Prisoners spent many hours locked in these cramped spaces. The rules were extremely strict, and infractions could lead to severe punishment. Solitary confinement in D Block, known as the Hole, was dark and cold. Inmates in solitary received a restricted diet, and the psychological pressure was immense. For guards, life on Alcatraz also presented unique challenges. They lived on the island with their families, creating a strange, isolated community. Guards had to be constantly vigilant, with the risk of violence or escape attempts always present. They underwent rigorous training to handle dangerous criminals. Despite the grim conditions, some inmates found ways to cope. Reading was a popular pastime, and the prison had a library. Some inmates took correspondence courses or found solace in art or music. The primary purpose of Alcatraz was to warehouse and punish, not rehabilitate. The daily routine was designed to break the will of the inmates. The constant surveillance and lack of privacy took a heavy toll on mental well-being. Alcatraz was a place of confinement and control. Alcatraz was home to some of America's most infamous criminals. These men were deemed too dangerous or escape-prone for other federal prisons. The most famous inmate was Al Capone, the notorious Chicago gangster. Convicted of tax evasion, Capone arrived at Alcatraz in 1934. Stripped of his influence, he reportedly said, "It looks like Alcatraz has got me licked." Another well-known inmate was George "Machine Gun" Kelly, a kidnapper and bank robber. Kelly arrived in 1934, boasting he would escape, but became a model prisoner. Robert Stroud, the Birdman of Alcatraz, was a convicted murderer. Despite his nickname, he was not allowed to keep birds at Alcatraz. Alvin "Creepy" Karpis, a leader of the Barker Karpis gang, spent over 25 years at Alcatraz. These notorious figures were sent to Alcatraz to be neutralized. The Bureau of Prisons wanted to show that no criminal was beyond their reach. The stories of these inmates contributed to the legend of Alcatraz. Their confinement symbolized the ultimate victory of law and order. Alcatraz was a maximum security, minimum privilege institution. The presence of such infamous men underscored its role as a place of punishment. Despite Alcatraz's reputation as escape-proof, many inmates dreamt of freedom. Over its 29 years as a federal penitentiary, there were 14 escape attempts involving 36 men. Officially, no one ever successfully escaped from Alcatraz. Most attempts ended in failure, with prisoners recaptured, killed, or presumed drowned. One of the earliest notable attempts occurred in April 1936. Joseph Bowers, a bank robber, scaled a chain-link fence and was shot by a guard. Another significant attempt was the Battle of Alcatraz in May 1946. 6 prisoners, led by Bernard Coy, overpowered guards and gained access to weapons. Their plan to seize a boat failed, leading to a 2-day siege. 3 inmates and 2 guards were killed, and 3 inmates were later tried for murder. Other attempts were less dramatic, but equally desperate. Theodore Cole and Ralph Rowe vanished from a prison workshop in December 1937. Despite an extensive search, they were never found and presumed drowned. These early attempts showed the constant pressure on the prison system. The human spirit's desire for liberty pushed some to try. The relentless drive of some inmates to regain their freedom was evident. The most famous escape attempt from Alcatraz occurred on June 11, 1962. Frank Morris and brothers John and Clarence Anglin vanished from their cells. A 4th prisoner, Alan West, failed to get out of his cell in time. Morris was known for his high intelligence, and the Anglin brothers had experience with escaping. They meticulously planned their breakout over many months. Using crude, homemade tools, they chipped away at the concrete around their air vents. They created fake vent covers and sculpted dummy heads to fool the guards. On the night of the escape, they squeezed through the holes in their cell walls. They climbed to the roof and made their way to the water's edge. They constructed a raft and life vests from stolen raincoats. They inflated the raft and slipped into the dark, cold waters of San Francisco Bay. Their disappearance was not discovered until the next morning. The fate of Morris and the Anglin brothers remains a mystery. The FBI conducted an extensive investigation, but no bodies were ever conclusively recovered. Over the years, there have been reported sightings and claims that they survived. The 1962 escape shattered Alcatraz's reputation as an inescapable fortress. The escape continues to fascinate the public. It has become a legendary tale of defiance. Despite its formidable reputation, Alcatraz was expensive to operate. The island's isolation made it costly, with all supplies shipped by boat. The prison buildings were aging, and maintenance was expensive. By the early 1960s, the philosophy of corrections was changing. There was a growing emphasis on rehabilitation rather than just punishment. Alcatraz represented an older model of penology. Newer prisons were designed to offer programs for inmate reintegration. The high cost and outdated approach made Alcatraz's continued operation difficult to justify. The 1962 escape attempt by Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers also played a role. While officially deemed unsuccessful, the escape highlighted potential vulnerabilities. On March 21, 1963, Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy ordered the closure of Alcatraz. The remaining inmates were transferred to other federal prisons. The closure marked the end of an era. For 29 years, Alcatraz had stood as America's most notorious prison. Its closure was due to high operating costs, deteriorating infrastructure, and evolving correctional philosophies. The Rock fell silent, its cells empty. But its legend was only just beginning to grow in new ways. Alcatraz remains a potent symbol of confinement and the human spirit's endurance. After Alcatraz prison closed in 1963, the island sat empty for several years. In November 1969, Native American activists occupied Alcatraz to protest federal policies. The occupation lasted for 19 months, bringing attention to Native American issues. Today, Alcatraz is part of the Golden Gate National Recreation Area. It is one of San Francisco's most popular tourist attractions. Visitors tour the old cell blocks and learn about its rich history. The island's layers of history are preserved and interpreted for the public. Alcatraz serves as a powerful reminder of different chapters in American history. The mystery of the 1962 escape continues to fascinate people worldwide. The Rock, once a place of despair, now serves as a site of historical reflection and education.